This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Well, I took some time off to rest and now it's game time.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Imurgency and welcome back to my channel. Today we need to catch up because Netflix just recently dropped banger after banger after banger. And I honestly, to be quite frank, have not had the time to catch up on everything. The videos talking about some of these shows will be out soon. But right now, the show that I really want to talk about is Sex Education Season 3. And this time around, I kind of want to switch things up and have this be less of a show review, since by now, if we're talking about Season 3, I'm assuming that you've seen Season 1 and 2. This video is going to be more of a unpopular opinion slash just some of my thoughts sort of video, just recapping the season, really debriefing, because so much happened. And so many people this season really pissed me off, made my heart melt, and just genuinely made my experience watching season 3 very enjoyable. Before we get into all that, let's hear a quick word from this video's sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is an online web service that allows you to host your own professional website or domain. They come with tons of customizable templates that allow you to make your website your own and really help you get started making your own online portfolio, online store, or really anything else that you can really think of. I've been using Squarespace a lot recently as I'm a rising senior in college looking for some jobs, and Squarespace has been the perfect place for me to start my online portfolio, where I can really just go over some of my past experiences and passion projects that I've been working on to show some possible employers. If you head over to squarespace.com, you can start your free trial, and when you're ready to hit publish on your website, go to squarespace.com/emergency or use code emergency at checkout for 10% off your first website or domain. Thank you so much, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. Let's start talking about Sex Education. Okay, so Sex Ed Season 3. Honestly, a roller coaster. I do not know how else to describe it. It was through and through a roller coaster. Like, this time around, we got some new characters introduced. We got a lot of development for some old characters. And honestly, some of the problems I mentioned in my first Sex Ed video did get resolved this time around. So I could say that I was thoroughly happy about that. But let's really get into it, shall we? I would dare to say that this season of Sex Ed was my favorite and the best season out of the show, simply because it took the things that we already loved about the show and really developed them more and made it feel more like its own show, if that makes sense. Because season 1, they were really trying to figure out what they were doing. Like, we were still trying to get used to the characters, and the characters themselves really just did not know what they were doing. Season 2 was kind of like a middle ground where we sort of figured out how things worked, but there was just like a lot of drama. Basically, season 3 felt the most like Sex Ed that Sex Ed has ever felt, if that makes sense. And that first starts off with some of the characters. So like I said, they brought back all of the main cast that we're used to. Basically Otis, Maeve, Eric, and Jean Milburn. But this season really did like a giant flip, where the focus of the season wasn't necessarily on those main 4. Of course, the main story elements were on them, but this season gave so much juicy and well-deserved character development to the characters around them. I'm talking about Amy, Ruby, Adam, even Raheem to a certain extent, Diaka to Lily, frickin' Jackson, Cal, and Viv. Like, all of the traditional side characters really stepped up this season and got their own development in their own way, and I really love that. And since I mentioned their name, one of the new characters on the show, Cal, can we really just show some appreciation for Cal? They really brought an energy to the show that was really missing. Like, they're the one like American in the show, and you can really tell by the way that they just interact with like authority and just other people. Like, they're just not here for like the politeness and a lot of the BS that sort of happens. And I really love that for them. They also gave us some non-binary representation this season, which I feel like is really cool, because I said this in the first season of Sex Ed, but Sex Ed really does break down a lot of boundaries with things that we don't really traditionally see on typical media. Like, we literally got to see someone who's non-binary and someone with a disability be main love interests to some of the more prominent characters in the show. Of course, both these relationships end up flopping, but it was nice to see dedicated love stories happen on screen for both these people. Jumping back on the whole character development train, I really feel, I saw this in a tweet, but this season, the people that got the most character development and people that tried to change the most for the better this season ended up the most unhappy and done the most dirty. Here I'm really just talking about Ruby and Adam, because as we know from previous seasons, these two haven't been the greatest people to our main cast. Ruby being the typical mean girl and Adam being the bully to Eric. But at the end of season 2, Eric and Adam end up getting together, which I still to this day do not support. Even now, especially at the end of the season, I really do not support. And honestly, just frustrates me, which I'll get into. But we really get to see this season Eric really try to get more in touch with himself, be more comfortable with himself now that he is out and gay, or kind of out and gay. We really get to see him push himself to be a better man for Eric. And it's really, really, really sad because you see how difficult it is for him to move past all the trauma that he learned from his parents and upbringing and just life in general. And just seeing him try to fight all that for this one guy that he really likes and only for that one guy to end up cheating on him and be like, you know what? This isn't gonna work out. It was just so traumatic. Like, he really didn't deserve that. Like, he was putting in all of the work that he needed to. He just got played. And same thing for Ruby. Like, Ruby was being a mean girl. She never really let anyone in. She was never vulnerable. But Otis came along. They start hooking up. I feel like Otis is one of those people that like really needs deep connection with people, even if he doesn't want to pursue something really deep with that person. Like, he just really needs to have genuine deep connections with everyone that he meets. And that's especially toxic for people that aren't used to that and take that immediately for love or deep affection. And that's what happened with Ruby. Like, no one's ever showed her that kind of affection and general care for her. So she fell deep, she fell hard. Honestly, I support the Ruby and Otis relationship at the very end where she stopped being all control-y. Yeah, Otis was still caught up over Maeve and had the nerve to kiss another girl, to kiss Maeve in front of Ruby after they broke up. But they were obviously trying to fix things together. Like, he spent a whole episode trying to get Ruby back, and then Maeve shows up and he's like, oh wait, never mind. Ruby didn't deserve that. Ruby really didn't deserve that. And the fact that Ruby still continues to support Otis throughout the rest of the season, this is just so heartbreaking because you know that she still has a love for him when he clearly does not feel the same. Like, that scene on the phone where Ruby's like, I love you, Otis. And Otis is like, that's nice. Really, Otis? What'd Megan say?
Man, ain't nobody come to see you, Otis.
Yeah, I fully blame Otis and Eric for being very sick and twisted individuals. Honestly, same to Maeve, low-key. Maeve's been going through it this season. She really was trying to figure out what her future is gonna be like. She has to deal with her whole family situation, which really got complicated this season. But the way that she cheated on Isaac, after Isaac did nothing but care and love for her. And I get it, like, Otis is your first love. He's your what if guy. He's like the guy that you really would like to be with, ideally, but you like moved on and healed. But really, if he said yes, you'd go jumping right back to. Like, I get it. Also, can we talk about the star of the season? Amy. Can we please take a moment to talk about my girl, Amy? Amy really got that character development. Like, the writers for season 3 really were handing out character development left and right, but Amy's slice of character development was so sweet. It's just the way that she takes her therapy in her own hands, in her own really airheaded, goofy way, and really try to work past her traumatic experience and basically learn to love herself and her body, while also being such a great support to Maeve while Maeve is literally going through it and no one else is really caring for her. Like, Amy and Maeve's friendship is so pure and also so funny. Like, Amy is so unintentionally funny. The scene in the beginning where she hits that lady, or how she makes a horrible French accent in front of her friend Maeve, who actually in real life is French. I literally just can't with her. Now I kind of want to get into some unpopular opinions, some very critical thoughts I have, just shaming a bunch of these characters because, like I said, I really love this season, but people made me so mad. Let's start off with Vivian. Viv, if you will. They try to explain it by being like, oh, she really wants an opportunity. But what prompted Viv to become a pick-me? It just happened so quickly that she switched up on her one only friend that was super close and did everything for her last season. They became really close last season. What would prompt her to just automatically switch to pick me mentality and backstab him? But like, he was head boy and the new principal was like, oh, Vivian, would you like to become the new head girl? And she's like, oh yes, without a second thought. Double-crossed her bestie and then wanted to be a narc for half the season. Like, I don't get it. I really think they did her dirty because Viv has such a great character and that's shown a lot near the end. But why'd they make her the mini antagonist? Like, why make us hate her? Like, Viv did deserve that. But alas, it did happen. And it made the whole scene where we find out Viv's mysterious boyfriend who has a weird roleplay fantasy. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Like, that specific moment? Let me roll the film.
See you after school.
Okay. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Bye.
That one right there. All of her antics that whole season made that moment so much more worth it. But really, she didn't deserve it because she didn't deserve to be set up like that. Another unpopular opinion, and my biggest unpopular opinion this season, has to do with Eric. And here's a rant. Trigger warning rant. Eric is one of the most toxic characters in this show this season. Like, he is so toxic. I thought Otis was bad last season, but Eric takes the cake. Because Eric just can't make up his mind. He wants his cake and eat it too. Like, I just simply don't understand. Like, follow this logic for a second. Why would you break up a perfectly healthy relationship with someone who loves you unconditionally, is out and proud, and is willing to actually be seen out in public with you? For a boy that has bullied you, won't be out in public with you, won't really claim you, is new to the scene, and for the most part is closeted. That first part, okay, I can get that. Maybe you love him. But then why? Why would you get mad and weaponize the fact that this man is closeted and not out and not willing to be seen out in public with you the way that you want, when that is what you chose? Like, you knew exactly what you were getting into when you signed up. You literally knew exactly what you were getting into when you signed up. You knew who you left and you knew who you left him for. Why are you desperately trying to make a Raheem out of a Adam? I do not get it. And why? How do you go and cheat, right? How do you go and cheat and somehow you are the victim in the situation? Riddle me that. How do you go out and cheat and what you take away is, I learned so much. I learned that I can't be in this relationship. I learned that I need something more. I need someone to love. Like, what you need to do is make up your mind. You need to learn how to stay loyal, because in your past two relationships, you have not stayed loyal once. You have emotionally and physically cheated on both of your boyfriends. Maybe you just don't need a boyfriend. Maybe that's it. And it's just the way that he's just so stone cold in the breakup. Like, he feels no remorse. He doesn't show any remorse. Like, whenever he talks about it, he's like, oh yeah, we broke up. No remorse. When he's actually breaking up with Adam, no feelings. He's like over it. Which is so sick, because he knows how much Adam has been, actually I don't even know if he knows fully how much Adam was trying, because Adam really couldn't communicate that. But like, that is just so sick of him and so toxic of him, especially not to care. It's the fact that he just did not care when Adam so clearly cared so much for this boy. I will say that I am now slightly becoming more of a supporter of the Raheem and Adam train, just because they seem to be like understanding each other more. I feel like Raheem's not the type of person to do the same sort of stuff that Eric did, just because he's like slightly a better, more in tune person. So maybe in season 4, we'll start to see that. That would be fun to like see them walking down the hall and Eric just being like, but that's my rant on Eric. Those are my thoughts on Eric. Now let's talk about the parents. Let's talk about Miss MILBURN. I thought it was really random this season that they just made her pregnant. I'm not sure if she was pregnant in real life, but I feel like that whole plot thread is very random. And I'm not sure how I really felt about it, because I feel like they did that to give her more relevance in this season, because when you think about it, she really didn't do anything else besides be pregnant, and being pregnant was a driving factor for a lot of her plot points. Like, her whole relationship with Jakob was because she got pregnant. And a lot of Otis's character development of him like being more self-aware and trying not to be as childish happened because his mom almost died from being pregnant. It just felt like it was like really just placed in there to like progress things along and to start some drama. But Miss MILBURN this season, I feel like, was good. She was trying to figure out exactly what she wanted and was throwing herself in this relationship, thinking that she really wanted this relationship, when she slowly started to realize that her and Jakob have nothing in common. They really have nothing in common but their love for each other, which, I mean, cute, but also I don't know how sustainable that is. I think it's really interesting how they set up the end of this season of her taking that DNA test and her being like, oh shit. So it's likely that the baby is not Jakob's, and that is going to cause a whole bunch of drama, because he literally just started trusting her again after opening up about his past trauma of like being cheated on and him like losing trust in people. Like, that's going to open up a whole can of worms that I just frankly do not have the mental capacity right now to unpack. I guess since we're already talking about the ending, let's talk about the last major thing. Maeve going to America. That seemed very random too. I know they've been talking about it throughout the whole season, but her going, like, her just deciding to like pick up and go the day of, was like, okay. I really wonder if they're gonna do like a spin-off of Maeve in America. I feel like that would be good. And like the whole spin-off thing like they did with like Elite. But I really wonder if they're just gonna like take her out for an entire season, or if they're gonna do like a side-by-side thing, like how they did with like Eric being in Nigeria and like everyone else being in school. I know I said that the last thing was gonna be the last thing, but I really forgot I did not talk about the principal at all. Like, that whole dynamic. What was that? What was that? In what world? My UK viewers and audience, is that normal? Is that how head teachers act? Is that what they are allowed to do in their statute of limitations? Is that the power vested in them to publicly humiliate students? Like, what was that? When she had the students who, for the most part, did not do much wrong, especially Lily. Lily did not do anything wrong, and Cal definitely did not do anything wrong besides stick up for what they believe in and what is equitable and right. Is that common practice to publicly humiliate students, and is that okay? Because frankly, from my point of view, there is no degree, education, institution really, where I would be willing to sit up there and be publicly humiliated by an administrator for the sake of a learning lesson for the rest of the class. Like, I would simply just leave. Like, there is nothing that is tying me down that much where I would just sit there and be humiliated like that. Like, what do I look like sitting up there being like, I am the scum of the university and have brought shame on all of my peers? Like, no, it could not be me. I would simply leave. I would rather be expelled. I said it. I would rather be expelled. Like, what? Who does that? Like, what kind of sick and twisted individual thinks of doing that to a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds? That was the point in the show where I was like, oh wow, she is off it. She is really off it. Like, there is no going back from here. But I think that's gonna be it for this video, y'all. That was Sex Ed Season 3. Sex Ed Season 3 in my book is definitely either a 9 or 10 out of 10. Just a really solid season, my favorite season out of the series so far. And I'm excited to see what's gonna happen in Season 4. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you never miss when I post. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like and comment down below what I should talk about next and just your general thoughts about sex ed. If you want to keep up with me and see more of my face, you can follow me on my social medias here at Imurgency, where I post on Instagram, TikTok. I'm everywhere, basically. Also, if you want to interact more with me in the community, you can click the link in the description and join the community Discord. We're chill around there. Come hang out. But other than that, thanks again so much for watching. Thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. And don't forget to head to squarespace.com/emergency or use code emergency at checkout to get 10% off of your first website or domain. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.